4.5 miles out at sea, a sailor squints toward shore. Sunlight catches a glint above the Acropolis, the spear tip of a colossal bronze goddess. That golden flash was paid for with Egyptian gold, and at that very moment the army that won that gold was marching toward annihilation on the Nile. One expedition built a city and buried an army. That glint had a price tag. Follow the gold home. Athens had sent a great expedition to Egypt, fighting alongside local rebels against the Persian Empire. For years, plunder and tribute flowed back across the Mediterranean into the Athenian treasury. This was foreign wealth on a scale the young democracy had never seen, and Athens poured it into stone and bronze, two projects that would transform an ordinary town into something unprecedented, a superpower that could not be touched by land or sea. The first project, the Long Walls. Athens sits inland. Its harbor, Piraeus, lies 4.5 miles away on the coast. The Athenians built two parallel walls, each 4.5 miles long, connecting city to port, a fortified corridor no enemy could break. Understand what this did. An army could besiege Athens by land, but grain still flowed up the protected road from the sea. And Athens ruled the waves. No blockade could starve her, no siege could strangle her. The walls didn't merely defend the city. They turned Athens effectively into an island. The second project, a statue. Athens commissioned Phidias, a first-generation genius who would later sculpt the Zeus at Olympia, one of the seven wonders of the ancient world. Phidias cast a colossal bronze Athena and raised her on the Acropolis. She stood armed, a spear rising from her hand, and when the sun struck her polished spear tip, the light flashed out over the water, visible to ships 4.5 miles at sea. A beacon. Sailors saw it and knew. This was Athens, rich, armed, supreme. Wealth and naval power forged into a single point of fire. But while Athens gleamed, Persia was preparing a reckoning. The empire could not afford to lose Egypt, its richest province, its breadbasket. Some historians call this fixation a strategic flaw. Persia called it survival. They struck back with overwhelming force, a massive land army and a Phoenician war fleet, moving together. The land army crossed the Sinai using a canal dug by King Darius, a channel linking the Nile Delta to the Red Sea, the ancient ancestor of the Suez Canal. While that army marched, the Phoenician fleet swept along the coast toward the Nile's mouths, two prongs closing on the Greeks who had grown comfortable after years of easy occupation. For 6 years, the Athenians had held Egypt almost unchallenged. They were besieging Memphis, the great citadel the Greeks called the White Fortress. Then a relief squadron arrived, 50 triremes, sleek three-tiered warships, sailing into the Pelusian branch, the eastern arm of the Nile. They had no idea Persia had returned. The Phoenician fleet and the land army caught them in the narrow channel and destroyed them. The squadron was gone. Now the Greeks besieging Memphis were the ones surrounded. Enemies on two sides, the easy occupation over, the trap closing around them. The Athenians fell back to an island called Prosopitis, a triangle of land cradled between two branches of the Nile, joined by a canal. They beached their triremes along the shore and dug in. Water surrounded them on every side. To attack, the Persians would need ships, and a naval battle the Athenians might win. So the Persians didn't fight on water, they removed it. Persian engineers diverted the river, channeling the Nile away from the canal. Slowly the water sank. The canal bed turned to mud, then to dry ground. The island fortress became open land, and across that drained channel marched Persian cavalry and infantry. No fleet, no sea battle, just men walking over a riverbed that had vanished beneath them. The Greek ships sat useless on the sand. Engineering, not arms, had won the war. Around 454 BC, the Athenians surrendered. The dream of folding Egypt into a Greek world was over. But the story doesn't end in defeat. A band of survivors escaped, marching west across the Sahara to Cyrene, then sailing home to Athens, and they carried something with them. They had seen Egypt, the pillared temples of Luxor, the vast pyramids, the silent Sphinx, monuments raised by a civilization thousands of years old. These were men whose own small town had been burned to the ground by the Persians just decades before. Now they had glimpsed what a great power's capital could truly look like. Here is the irony at the heart of it all. The same Nile expedition that ended in catastrophe had already sent home the gold that built the long walls and lit the bronze Athena. Wealth flowed in, the army was lost, and the vision survivors carried back of monumental eternal stone would shape the Athens that rose in the Golden Age, the Athens of the Parthenon. Riches, ruin, and inspiration all flowing from a single river. Defeat on the Nile did not end Athenian greatness, it helped build it. One expedition buried an army, and from that buried army a new city took its form.